who wants to see what I picked up at the Southwestern Invert Show? Hello and welcome back to Bug Realms. On this channel we like to discuss all things creepy crawly, so if that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel. 1 second. I'm tired, I need caffeine. Okay, so this is my pickups video. Now before we get into it, I would just like to add, in my pre-show video I talked about wanting to find things for my 7 deadly sins enclosures. I didn't. I'm now going to be holding that back for BTS. We are going to, or between now and at the BTS, try and find things for these 7 deadly sins enclosures, and I'm really excited to do that. I only spent half the money that I brought to this show, which means that other half of my funding is going straight to the BTS, which would have been the money that was going to be used for 7 deadly sins enclosures anyway. So there is going to be a bit of a delay. If I do spot something come up with a particular company between now and BTS to start these 7 deadly sins, we will do so. But for the meantime, we're having to hold back. So let's have a look at what I got. First of all, in my show footage video, I did mention the mug from 8 Legs 4 Wheels, Greg and Rachel. This was gifted to my daughter, so massive thank you again to you. As I said before, the other gifts that they gave her, she has taken home. So I'm going to move this bag off the table for a minute. Now here are those acrylic enclosures I was gifted. Now I was actually gifted 3 of these, so a big massive thank you to you, Lauren, for doing that for me. Now in here, temporarily placed in here, is one of the pickups, which is a little Madagascar marbled mantis, the Polyspilota araginosa, I don't know, it's on the screen, but the Madagascar marbled. We will take a closer look at this one in a minute. I just put it in here because this is being filmed the day after the show, and I didn't want to keep the mantis in its tiny little show pot just in case it were to molt overnight or something. But this is not the actual setup for this mantis. This was just to give it space temporarily. So that enclosure and the others actually came in super handy for just quickly putting things in temporary homes, and they will be set up really nicely for the future. So yes, we will look at that mantis in a minute. Let's go through everything else before we look through them. So in here, I will show you what it is in a moment. Was the one and only tarantula I bought at the show. I wasn't going to buy any teas at this particular show, but my daughter went, "Daddy, there's some cool spiders over here," and I spotted something that I have been after for a while. Next then, in this tub is a species of isopod. In this tub is springtails, just because I needed some. We're not going to go into detail on those. I'm just going to pop them to one side. We don't need to have a look at the springtails. If you don't know what they are really useful for cleanup crews. They're great in any terrarium really that has a moisture gradient. Isopods. 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 So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 isopod species, 1 mantis species, 1 tarantula, as well as the gifts and springtails. Now my daughter actually picked up some roaches and also some isopods. They're up in her room. We will take a look at them later. So let's go into detail of everything we bought. First of all, you already know about the mantis, so let's take a look at the little mantis. Oh, there you are, yes. Let's get the camera down. So here we have, oh look, you can see my hand. Here we have our little Madagascar marbled mantis. It is a female, and I've even got her date of birth on here from Cheeky Mantis, which was the 6th of the 11th, 2021. So she was born in November last year. Now I actually bought this as a potential gift for my friend, but it wasn't the species he was after, so he said that I can cling on to this one, and if I spot the specific species that he's after in the future, he'll take that one. So she's going to be staying with me. I'm not going to be keeping many mantis from now on. but this was one of the first species I ever owned since starting Bug Realms. Oh, hello. And I reckon that I could do it again. My last one was also a female. I raised her to adulthood and she did wonderfully, so we're going to try that again with this one. So let's have a look at the pods that we got, shall we? Okay, as my microphone is facing this way, my audio might be a little different from these angles. So the first one we got another Porcellio laevis, and these are the milkbacks. So there they are, and you can see how they're kind of more blotchy in their dark patches, and it kind of fades in, unlike your dairy cows or Dalmatians, where your Dalmatians have more spots and your dairy cows have darker splodges. These kind of blend, so they still get mostly a white skirt, but as you can see, it kind of comes in and out. Really, really cool. So this is a cheap species, just picked 10 up for £3. Pretty cool, right? So next isopod species, we've just got our tropical blue / grey, which are the Porcellonides pruinosis. Now these are probably the cheapest and most common isopods you can get. So there's 20 in here. They are a small species, and you kind of can get the powder blue looks, or you can have the wild grey type, like most of them probably are in here. They stay small, they're quick, they breed well. There's a very important reason why I've gone for cheap pods today like these, and we will get into that in just a moment. But you can see now that they're put in the light, they are frantically searching around to find a darker patch, and no doubt in a matter of maybe 30 more seconds most of these guys will kind of hide away. So frantic species when disturbed, but you can catch them out having a wander. Now these are very, very overlooked for people getting into the isopod hobby because of their, well, how common they are really, but they're great for bioactive setups as your cleanup crew. So those that are just into isopods and not into their reptile keeping or bioactive setups, as I said, do tend to overlook these, but not me at all. So the next one of our cheap isopods, they do get a bit more expensive in a moment, guys. We've got our Porcellio echinatus, I believe I've pronounced that right, I'm not 100% sure. And Spidershop classed them as spiky isopods. I've just noticed that that one looks very, very different. I wonder if you're supposed to be in there. I'll have to have a closer inspection, because that one looks like, I don't know. This is what I was expecting to see. This one here, anyway. Now it's quite hard to see that it's got those tiny little spikes. I wouldn't really class them as spikes. They're just tiny little protrusions. I'm not sure if these come in different morphs and why that one's there, or if that's different. Let me try and get a close up, because it's looking very shiny rather than spiky. Anyway, let's try and remove some of this and see if we can find any others. So yeah, here we go. So here are what I was expecting to see. So can you see those tiny little dots, little ridges that are coming off in the light there? Especially on this one, you can see it very well, tiny little dots. That's what we were looking for. So although they're a basic grey variety, they still spark an interest in me because of that slight difference. Whereas the other one looks like a potential laevis dairy cow. If you are more up to date with your isopods, let me know. I will put this one in comparison with my dairy cows to see. But for now, for this video, we'll leave it in there for a minute. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Again, I'm still learning with the pods. I've done a lot of research in the substrates, but as I'm getting newer and newer species, it will take me time to be able to differentiate. Is that the word? I can't say it. What is that word called? To be able to tell the difference in all your different morphs. So you'll have to bear with me while I learn that. So here Armadillium vulgare. Now these are a bit more expensive. These are £10. It says pattern mix, and that's because vulgare come in various amounts of morphs. So they're the same species, they come in different morphs. And I specifically chose to get a mix this time because we might end up with some really cool patterns that we can then try and isolate and try and get some cool morphs. Now Armadillium vulgare do hide, so finding them might be a little problematic in here. It's good to see that there's some springtails running around. Here's a little one. You can see the interesting markings on its back there. So that's one of the morph mixes that's in here. That's quite pretty, quite interesting. I do not know which morph mix that one is called, but I quite like it. It could just be even their standard wild type, although the patterning looks a little bit more oh, there's another one. Sorry, I didn't finish my words. The patterning looks a little bit more kind of outstanding, but I could be wrong. These could be your wild types. This is the first time I've owned vulgare. I'm basing this just off of what I've seen around. So we've got two that look similar there. Let's see what else I can find. There's another one. And another one there. And you can see Armadillium are very known for this kind of tankish appearance, but they've all got ever so slightly different patternings on their back. So perhaps it's not so much colour, perhaps it's more density of the patterning. That's why it would say pattern mix, so perhaps that's why. But we can still work on a specific pattern morph with our vulgare if we get any that do stand out from the rest. So I took a few out here for us to look at. In fact, we might be better with the macro lens. They do look similar, but let's have a look under macro at the difference in patterning. Right, so you can see here already this one has got way more pronounced patterning to this one here. This one's got almost a blend in, whereas where have you gone? This one that has that nice golden middle part as well as the sides. It's very cool. And then you see this one's got even more of a blend than the original one. I really like that one. I like that colour. So yeah, we've got various patterning basically over a standard grey Armadillium. Oh dear. Yeah, Armadillium are your standard roly-poly type that can go into the little ball like that. This one's actually trying to flip over and it can't seem to do it on the smooth surface. So I'm going to pop these back and we will look at the last isopod of the day. So in this tub is my pre-order. Now this is a pre-order from Curtis Lakin, the guy that I normally get my phasmids from. There weren't any phasmid species I was particularly after in today's show or yesterday's show, and these are the Porcellio spatulatus, so still reasonably new-ish in the hobby. Now these are all young, these aren't adults. They do get bigger, so they are a large species of isopod and they get wide, so where they may not get super long, they get super wide. Now I know looking at these you guys might be like, these are still just grey isopods, but honestly the kind of flare of the white on the skirt around the edging contrasts so well, and when these are adult I will show you the complete wide load that these guys are. They are one of the giants in my eyes, at least anyway. So I think he sold me 12. He said he was going to put 12 in. I haven't actually counted, for the price of 10, and I got a little discount off Curtis because I do buy off him at pretty much every single show. Now these are not a cheap isopod. If you are looking to get into these in the hobby, I see them retailed at around £50 to £55 for 10. Now I did not pay that off of Curtis. He was already selling them cheaper than that, and with a little discount knocked off as well. I basically paid half that price. So I'm really chuffed with these. You'll see the environment is drier. That's because they do come from a drier climate. I will probably only have one corner moist when I put them into their new home. So that is it from the Isopods, ladies and gentlemen. There's the spelling if you would like it, Porcellio spatulatus, paid by Sam. So last but not least then is the tarantula featuring for today's video. The one that I wasn't going to get until I spotted, and that is Tiltacatl verdesi. If you watch my old channel, you might have known that I've owned a verdesi in the past. I ended up actually giving that verdesi away because it was one of my favourite, what was brachypelma at the time, became Tiltacatl, and it hooked out as male. We couldn't find a female, and I gave it away because I could not bear to watch this one just grow of old age and die. I also had a lot less contacts back then than I do now for breeding, so hopefully even if this one is a male, which is possible for the fact that it only cost me £30, we can get some breeding in. Now this one is rather plump, so it won't be feeding for a while, but it's such a beautiful tea. It may not look like much in the way of coloration right now, but this is my favourite of all Tiltacatl and brachypelma combined for when it grows. It does stick to a kind of greyish tone, but it is just, well, you just wait till this one's grown and you will see the difference from its juvenile colours to its adult. They are amazing. My last one was very attitudey as well. Now, I'm not sure if that was that particular specimen or if it is this species all over, and you can see it is darkening on the back of the abdomen there, so hopefully this one will start going into pre-molt, which would be super cool. But look how fluffy it is, and it just didn't have a care in the world that I've just opened this lid. Not a care in the world. So this one will be rehomed too. This is just the tub it came in. This is not what it's going to be living in. Obviously there's no hide in here or water dish, which is something that we need to sort out. So that is my haul, ladies and gentlemen. 1 mantis, 5 species of isopod, 1 tarantula, some springtails. Now, would you like to have a quick look at my daughter's purchases? Up to her room. Okay, up into the darkness we descend. I'm not bringing a light with me, but obviously we will put the room light on. Okay, so avoiding the actual bedroom, this is her little bug section. She does have her big vivarium over that way, but yes, it's just with her drawings and so on and so forth. So first of all, she's got in this one Porcellio laevis orange. Let's see if we can spot one. There was only 10. None in the hide. Huh. Okay, I've had to dig out quite a lot to find them. There was only 10. There you go. Nice orange Porcellio laevis. And it's going to hide again, isn't it? I have lost you already. But anyway, I am not going to go and mess up her enclosure any more than I just have done. But there were only 10, and we've got quite a large enclosure for them. Now this is using my new test substrate as well, and my old dry food. Now, a lot of people don't leave a dish of dry food in with their isopods. This is something that we're just trying out, so bear with me on that. I'll explain why I do that in a future video. So that was one lot. I'll just grab the next tub. So in here she picked up a Porcellio scaba morph mix. Now this is basically all one species, kind of like my patterned vulgari. So you can see one there that's potentially a moo cow. I really don't want to be destroying the home she's made for them, but if you trust me on this, there are some wild types in here, and I think there was some ghost types in here too. So they can all breed with each other because they are the same species, they are just different morphs, and we want to try and get something cool come out of the morph. So there we go, very basic setup. You won't see a lot of leaves on the top of this one. That's because we had to set it up quickly before she went home, and this was the last one we did. So I will be adding that along with some food myself. There are some in here, as you can see. But again, she's only got 10 in here, and just trust me that there are those morphs. So if you want to see different morphs, just stay tuned to the channel because I will be showing a few off. We actually have some wild ones from my hometown that had an ever so slightly red skirt, which we will be adding to these after they've had an isolation period to make sure they're okay. So we might get something cool out of that. And then she got one more pickup, which is really, really interesting. So temporarily put in here again, although we may keep them in here a little while. Again, this was my gift of acrylic enclosure. She got herself some of the emerald roaches. Is it Pseudoglamorus magnificus? Something like that anyway, I could be wrong. There is one just here. There's another down there. Let's see if I can get you a good shot of one before I leave her bedroom be. So there's one running up my arm. Oh no, the focus. So there it is again. These are beautiful roaches with an emerald sheen. So we actually picked up 6 nymphs of these. Where did that one go? Sorry, I thought I lost one there. Here's a bigger one for you to see. That's better, right? So we picked up 6 nymphs of these. We're hoping to get a good female to male ratio, and I'm hoping the bigger ones could potentially be female and the smaller ones end up being male, because that means they would be right for breeding. That one's going to get out. Sorry, I've had to keep cutting it because I cannot afford to lose these. They're not the cheapest of roach, and she is really looking forward to raising them. So as I said before, and I'll say again, there are 6. Now if she manages to keep these alive and well until May, until the BTS, I will then be picking her up some more. So this is kind of her tester batch to make sure she can look after them well, and then if she does succeed or keep them all alive, then I will be treating her to some more. Really, really cool roaches though. So there we have it, the pickups from me and my family. So I did promise to tell you why I went for cheap isopods, and the reason being is my substrate is finally ready for testing. It's going to go under its test phase, and I thought it's better to use the cheaper, more common and more hardy isopods at the beginning of the test phases. And then I'm also going to be going through a dietary experimental phase 2. Nothing I'm going to be doing in this research is aimed to cause any harm. It's just in case. Okay, so I'm really putting all of my efforts lately into substrate research and on dieting as well, more than I am on actually learning species names and different morphs. So you'll have to bear with me for the moment of me understanding all the different morph types and different species, because to me the most important thing is getting it right for substrates and diet first, because if I've given you the wrong morph name, for example, on here, I can easily correct that in the future, whereas if I give you the wrong substrate information or the wrong dietary information, that could potentially end up killing off your pods if I get it wrong. So to me it's more important to focus on the substrates and diets first, but I am willing to learn. I really want to get into isopods more, so any extra information from you guys would be great. I've got various books, various sources, so I'm really excited to continue this pod adventure. Really, really excited, in fact. One last thing as well, you may see the next, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 videos coming out, might seem a little bit weird because they were actually recorded before the Southwestern show. Not even sure if my hair was cut in them or not, but anyway, so the next couple of videos coming out to you guys were actually pre-recorded before this, so just to save any confusion. But we do have another Isopod mystery box coming up, so make sure to stay tuned for that one, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, take care, bye bye.